And really only two cryptocurrencies have taken governance so seriously that they make it a first-class citizen, Cardano and Tezos. Dash is doing it, but it's not as programmable and iteratable as it is in Tezos or in Cardano. Really, for us, it's a government. It's a government on a blockchain. And so the point is that if you look out 3 years into the future, 5 years into the future, 10 years into the future, if we are successful, we will have millions to billions of users, and we'll be in charge, like Bitcoin, of hundreds of billions of dollars of value. When you're that large and you have that many people, if you don't have a governance system, the only way the system operates is to freeze, because you can't come to consensus about what to do for a controversial change. So let's say quantum computers come out. We're like, how do we protect ourselves from that? There'll be 12 different ideas, and it'll take 10 years to get one of those 12 ideas in. Don't believe me? Look at Bitcoin with big blocks and SegWit, and trying to get smart contracts and trying to improve things for the Lightning developers. It's like swimming through a lake full of razor blades. Any change, no matter small or big, is incredibly difficult for Bitcoin. And you got people like Nick Szabo running around saying, well, that's a feature, not a bug. It's like, well, yeah, if you only want to ever do one thing, yeah, okay, you're proving resilience. But if you're a global world financial operating system that's doing transactions on a nation scale, then you're going to need to make hundreds of changes every year, or upgrades, or iterations, or new sidechain support, or perhaps there's some newfangled technology that massively improves your scalability for very low trade-off profile. You need a process to adopt this and bring this into the system. And you need people, once you bring it in, not to create Cardano Classic or Cardano Cash or these types of things. Second, who's the hell's going to pay for it? Yeah, I'm a pretty rich guy, but if we're ever going to decentralize, you can't go to the Bank of Hoskinson. You need to have some way of paying for alternative visions and views and developers to come in, and they work for Cardano. They get their salary working for the blockchain. So the point of Voltaire is to sort all that out, the who pays and who decides, and basically be a blockchain-based government. And the competitive advantage there is because we're so far ahead, and Ethereum is not even thinking about it because Vitalik is philosophically opposed to it and Bitcoin is opposed to it. I think ultimately this is how we're going to win in the long term. They're like, okay, one thing to get network effect, to get lots of developers, that'll get us to Ethereum, and that's a pretty good accomplishment. That's a career. But if you want to change the world and get people comfortable about how your system evolves, you need to have a government. And you can't have a centralized government, or else you're not a real decentralized protocol. You might as well have Microsoft run the whole thing. So if you're truly committed to decentralization, you actually have to make decisions that way. The problem is that no one's ever figured that out. You decentralized government with no leaders, no CEO, no council, no committee, these types of things. That's like systems theory. That's like next generation co-op. And what's so cool is that every person who holds ADA can participate. Like just the other day, we saw a crazy tweet from Gene Simmons, the basis for KISS. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm in the Cardano ecosystem now. And that was avarice. He's motivated by money. But a lot of people enter Cardano who are motivated by money. And it's a personal mission of mine to see if we can somehow convince Gene to look deeper into Cardano other than just an ROI, and realize that he actually has a vote and can run a stake pool. And I'd love to see the KISS pool. And I'd love to see him voting in Catalyst. And the reality is that many people are going to have that kind of come Jesus moment and conversion. Justin Roiland, for example, the voice for Rick and Morty, on the Rick and Morty show, he co-creator of the show with Dan. He just tweeted the other day, Cardano 105. So that's a really cool thing, is that you can not only build a decentralized government, but every person who holds starts participating. They have a financial interest for it, and eventually thousands participate, then eventually tens of thousands participate, then eventually hundreds of thousands participate. And if we get the systems theory right, and we get the political science right, they can participate at scale. So despite the fact that you have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, you can converge to decisions. And the more you have participate, the less corruption you have, the more transparency you have, the more checks and balances you have, the more oversight you have, and the more domain expertise you have. And then eventually expert classes can form, and then delegative democracy forms, where people will say, well, I don't know if I want to participate, but I'm going to delegate my vote to Bob or Alice. So a lot of people come and they say, well, I don't know what I can do. I'm a retired professor, or I was a nuclear physicist, or I was a CEO of a company, or whatever. And I'm not really that technical, or, I don't really want to run a stake pool, and I don't have a lot of money. And I say, well, why don't you go and be a domain expert? Because you have all this lifetime experience and skills that you have people delegate their vote to you, and now all of a sudden you represent like 5% of the network or something like that. You're like a congressman for Cardano, even though there's no official office, but yet you can wield a lot of influence and power and derive a revenue stream by being an expert inside the system. So it's wildly crazy, these social dynamics that Voltaire has, and it's the biggest of all the experiments. Proof of stake seemed crazy. Now it's like, yeah, proof of stake, whatever.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We got a lot of cool stuff there. And then the programming language, like smart contracts, we're like, wow, do we really think that this is a good idea? Now it's like, yeah, okay, we got a pretty good handle on that. But this government thing, man, it's out there, and God, we're having so much fun with it. And we have these beautiful governance meetings with all these old guard guys and gals who like are hardened and bitter because they've been trying to do governance experience for 30 years or 40 years in the corporate world or like in the UN or for nation states. And then we go and talk to them. We're like, yeah, he manages $250 million, and it's just like a bunch of people show up and vote, and it works. And they're like, well, what? That's crazy. You can't do that. It's like, no, it works. Go take a look at it. And they see it, and they say, wow, this is so incredible. And then, of course, they immediately send proposals, and they're like, yeah, we'd like to become consultants and sell you some of the years of knowledge and experience that we've gained. We say, sure. So it's crazy. Voltaire is moving at light speed. Dor is an incredible product manager, and the community has really stepped up. Almost 10,000 people are participating, and it's still in a beta. It's actually probably a late alpha, I'd say. So the second half of this year is going to be so much fun. I think we'll probably have over 100,000 people participating on a regular basis, dozens, if not hundreds of experts, and thousands of proposals.